Every ranked game is broken down into 3 different parts: Offspawn, Midgame, and Endgame. And today, as one of the top 75 Unreal ranked players from NA, I'm going to be teaching all of you how to dominate every fight in every single one of these scenarios and win games consistently. So if you guys do enjoy, make sure you are subscribed, but now onto the video. Now first up, let's talk about fighting Offspawn. Now the first way that you can become a better player Offspawn is by striving for good loot, because Offspawn, you're going to have limited mats, so it's very important that if you get in a fight, you have better loot than your opponent. For example, when I land at the dojo, I always land at this house right here, so I get an elemental chest and full shield. That way, when I push into this fight right here, I have better loot and more health than my opponent, and I'll always win that fight just because I had better loot than the player I was fighting. Another way that you can become a better player Offspawn is by gathering information while gliding. Doing this allows you to not only see where everyone else is, it allows you to pick up more kills, clear your POI faster, but it also means you can plan out the rest of your game based on where the other players are. Like right here, for example, this is me gliding in. You'll notice someone else is landing with me. So I see the visual sound effects and I take a little glance to my right. I notice the player is really short on his run up and he's not going to make it to the POI. So instead of going to my normal area, right over here where I showed you guys before, I see this gun on the floor and I instantly pick it up and key him. Because if I can kill this player early on in the game, I won't have to worry about him stealing my loot or griefing me later in the match. So I instantly 180, grab the pump, and I go and push him and pick up a simple kill. And that allows me to clear my POI, get the mythic, and rotate early, not having to worry about anything else. Now that we've covered Offspawn, let's talk about mid-game. Now the first and in my opinion the best way to become a better fighter in mid-game is by forcing players to make mistakes. Now I know that may sound weird, but let me show you an example of what I mean. In this fight right here, I'm going to bait out the car. Notice how I jump out and make it look like I'm still driving it. This makes the player think I'm still in the car, and then he's obviously shooting the car. I can get that big hit of opening damage I was looking for, and then I can start sprinting at this player with the katana. Now as I approach this player's box, I try and do a double edit in, and it doesn't work, so I then reset and look for a different angle. When I realize this player boxes up and makes 2 boxes of space, I realize he doesn't place cones in his boxes, so I'm going to take an advantage of that. I'm going to throw a ramp in his face from this angle. What this does is it means that more than likely this player is going to want to move out into this box, and I can predict that, pre-piece that area, so if the player walks into that, like you can see here, I can then crack him, do the exact same thing, and then I can pick up a simple free kill just because I forced a player to move in a certain direction. Now I understand that every fight in mid-game is going to be different and you're going to face different levels of players. But one way that you can determine and understand how good a player is by their reaction to opening damage. If you can understand how a player reacts to opening damage, you can determine if they're a good player or not. Like right here in this fight, I see this player push me with his katana. When he jumps in the air, I'm going to get a big hit of opening damage. But you'll notice as soon as I get this big hit of opening damage, this player builds 1 box of wood. I can tell that this player isn't good because he doesn't switch to his hard mats and he doesn't expand and make a bunch of boxes. Now after that big beam, notice how I'm going to sprint jump in the air and then slide and carry my momentum into the box. What this does is it speeds up the process of me getting into the box, and you'll notice by the time I'm in the box, the player's pulled out his map too late, and that means that I can pick up a simple kill just because I understood what type of player this guy was. Now the best way to become a better overall player, not just in mid-game, is with your awareness. Learning how to be aware of your surroundings and what your opponent is doing can often allow you to either piece control your opponent or just make good decisions in general that will allow you to pick up free kills. Like in this fight right here, I teleport behind a player, get some opening damage, and this player is going to box up in brick and make a 2x1. But I have good awareness and I see this player doesn't place a cone in his box, so I hold the cone from below. This allows me to place it in the box, and I've now trapped him in the box. Then he tries to edit the floor, but he fails, and then I spray through and I'm able to then get some damage on the player. When I do this though, the player places a ramp in front of me, but I notice I'm standing in the back of the box, so all I have to do is break the ramp while holding out a ramp of my own, and this will phase the ramp and then allow me to still be able to shoot the player, and then I can pick up a simple kill just because I had good awareness and understood what the player was doing. Now that I've shown you some ways to become a better fighter, you're probably asking yourself, what are some build moves I can use to win more fights in mid-game? One of the best build moves in mid-game to win more fights and piece control your opponent is with the high wall. An example of what the high wall is right here. I'm going to sit in a cone and I'm just going to look at where the other player is. I'm trying to scout where he is. When he drops onto my wall, we're going to start to look at each other. As you can see, we're both staring at each other. Now right now, if I edit and jump, the player will pump me before I can hit him, so I need a different angle. So I change angles and I notice that his blind spot is under him, so I edit the wall below him, place a ramp, and then side jump with the new jump mechanic, and then I hold a high wall. So what I do is I hold the wall while looking up, and this allows me to, as you can see, place a high wall. I then catch myself with a ramp and a floor, and then I edit the floor and then the ramp at the same time, and then place a cone above the player's head. Now, although the player edits on me and he cracks me, I crack him and then I reset the wall. This makes him then shoot his shotgun. I know he can't shoot back at me again because of shotgun delay. I can then window edit safely, wide edit, and pump the player, picking myself up a free kill just because I use the high wall. Now, I understand that every opponent you're going to fight is going to have a different play style, but one thing that every player in Fortnite has in common is they make mistakes, and one way that you can become a better fighter is by looking for those mistakes and using them to your advantage to pick up kills. Like in this fight right here, I see this player jump in the air with the katana. I take that as my chance to get some big hits of opening damage, and then this player teleports above me. But when I try and fight him for high ground, I notice something. When he places this wall to his left and he goes to the right, there's no wall in between these two boxes, and that means that if I slide a wall in between these two boxes, I'll have piece control over him. So I instantly grab the wall through the boxes. Notice how he tries to hold the wall, but it doesn't work because he was holding this one, but I placed the wall in between him. And then I can simply just edit on him and he has no time to run away, and I pick up a kill just because I countered this player's mistake. Now that we've talked about mid-game, let's move on to the hardest part of this video, endgame. Now, fighting in endgame is really tricky because if you make a mistake, you're going to get punished and you're going to get focused by the whole lobby and you're going to die. Now, one way that you can become a better fighter in endgame is by learning from your mistakes in the middle of a fight, because this will save your life. Right here in this fight, I get a big beam and I'm approaching this player's box. And you're going to notice I make a mongrel classic, which isn't a good edit, and I get punished for it, and this player is able to crack me. When this happens, I go and create space in hard mats and I throw my bob down, but you'll notice that this player instantly starts to push me and he drops on my wall. If I edit this right now, look at my health. I have 150. If I even get hit once here, I'm going to be super weak and I could get lobby focused. So to avoid that, I flip up the cone in front of me and then create a box to my left. This now sets me up for a peanut butter peek. This player builds in wood. Never build in wood in endgame, by the way. And then I'm able to spray the player's floor out, shoot him, and then he catches himself on a cone accidentally, and then I'm able to then pump him once, and then I'm able to pump him a second time, and this allows me to pick up a kill without taking any damage after I learn from my mistake. Now, if you want to become a better fighter in mid-game, but most importantly win the games that you play, you need to stay at the front of zone every single time a zone pulls, because if you get caught at the back of zone, that's where all the other players are, and that's where you're going to get lobby focus from, and you're going to take a bunch of damage back there. Like right here, notice how I'm preying on all of the other players in the back of zone. I chop out height and another player at the same time, and notice what happens. Look at all the chaos that's happening back here. All three of the last players in the lobby are all fighting each other, and it's just crazy in the back of zone. But if you even stay in the middle of or the front of zone like I am here, I don't have to worry about that. Another way that you can become a better player in endgame but also not get caught at the back of zone is by never being greedy. Right here, I see this player at the back of zone and I'm just going to pick up a very simple kill. When I pick up this kill though, I notice zone is pulling, and if I get caught in this water, it's going to be very awkward to get back up on builds. So I decide, you know what, it's more important to focus on my rotate, and I notice that I have the invisible coin, and I'm going to get up behind this player because I realize he can't see me. So I sneak up behind him, awareness check him, and then able to pump him. But after I pump him, I notice that another player is trying to take high ground. I don't want that, and I'm not going to let that slide. So I instantly go and psycho this player, and I'm able to then place a high ramp and then a cone above that, so he's now fully boxed. And then when the angle presents itself, I can pump the player and then pick up a kill. Now I get the mats, and now I have my refresh, and then I can just spray Snoop Dogg and pick myself up a free win just because I wasn't greedy. That is going to wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you are subscribed. We're almost at 30k subs. And if you want to see how to win every single ranked game, go check out this video. But with that, I'm out. Peace.